He has betrayed our national security, and he will do so again. He has compromised our elections, and he will do so again. You will not change him. You cannot constrain him. He is who he is. Truth matters little to him. What's right matters even less, and decency matters not at all.
Joining me now is Congressman Adam Schiff of California, chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and the lead impeachment manager from the first impeachment trial of the former president. And I hate to say you told us so, but you did, sir. And I wonder just what you make of this coming trial. I mean, your Thaddeus Stevens-like eloquence could not convince more than one United States senator on the other side, on the Republican side, to convict when it seemed so obvious to so many people that the former president was guilty. What do you think might be said differently, given that the scene of the crime is where the trial is taking place?
Well, it's a very different trial, very different facts. And as you point out, all of these senators were really witnesses to the crime. But even so, I think what we learned in the first trial is we thought that, the hearings in the House, which were so well publicized, meant that the senators would be very familiar with the facts. When we got to the Senate, we learned that that was not the case, that many of them only knew about the facts of the president's Ukraine scandal filtered through Fox News or Breitbart or these other, highly politicized, news, presentations by Sean Hannity and the like. So when we showed them the actual evidence, a lot of them were quite stunned that it was as powerful and overwhelming as it is. And I don't think we should assume that all of these senators have seen all the video, that are familiar with everything the president said in that speech, know what the president, for example, said to the Secretary of State in Georgia. And it's, of course, all of this is part of a pattern. And telling that story, I think, to the senators is important. But maybe even more important, telling that story to the American people is important to try to protect our country from someone like this ever occupying office again.
Well, I mean, I think you make an excellent point that Republican senators are probably taking in the same kind of news sources as their voters. And so you're right. They may not have seen it all in sort of linear fashion and looking through it. I wonder if you were involved in this particular trial, do you expect to see members of the Justice Department, the current and former, called? Because we now have information that Donald Trump was going into the Justice Department, thinking about switching out the acting attorney general, trying to impact the election from multiple angles, whether it was from Georgia or from the Department of Justice. Would you expect to see people called both from Georgia and from the DOJ?
I have every confidence in Jamie Raskin. I think he's a brilliant lawyer and he has a wonderful team. So they will make those right strategic decisions. And the challenge for this team, and we had a similar challenge, is not the scarcity of evidence, but the overwhelming abundance of it, and trying to figure out what's the most important thing to communicate to these senators and also to the country that's watching. And so they'll have to decide, is that the most powerful evidence? Do we want to spend time on that? Or is it better to keep focused on certain things that are very simple, that are very easy to communicate? And with those decisions, as I said, I have every confidence in this team.
And you were so, sort of wise about talking about the potential jeopardy to the country if there was an acquittal. And there was an acquittal. And we did see, as was prognosticated by yourself and other impeachment managers, this president then go after governors, try to go after our democracy itself and try to undermine it. In your view, what is the big risk if there is no conviction this time?
That's a great question. And it goes to the heart of this, tragic procedural vote we saw today, where senators, contrary to the text of the Constitution, contrary to the logic of the Constitution and history, essentially voted you can't try a president once they've left office. We've tried people once they've left office before. The risk is this: if a president is going to essentially try to overturn their election defeat, that will always happen at the end of their term. If they succeed, they become president for life. If they fail, and we're to hold there's no repercussion, you can't try them, you can't disqualify them, then we can expect that will happen again. So the profound danger here is that Donald Trump or someone just like him runs in 4 years and loses and tries to cheat again. And maybe this time they're successful because, Joy, we came really close to losing our democracy. If it wasn't for a handful of brave elections officials and judges who had true independence, we might have lost our democracy.
Yeah, indeed. And you know, I have to ask you this question as the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Your thoughts on seeing the fact that we did have the current president have a very different kind of call with Vladimir Putin and rebuke him for the allegations of, you know, putting bounties on our troops and rebuke him for the mistreatment of pro-democracy protesters. Just what did you make of that? And what change, what do you think that change is going to mean for our national security?
It means the world. And Joy, I can't tell you how grateful I was to see a U.S. president acting like a U.S. president. Joe Biden communicated, you got to stop meddling in our elections. There are going to be consequences. I'm going to confront with you these reported bounties on the heads of our troops, this major Russian hack, and other key malign activities like the poisoning of Navalny, this Russian opposition figure. But the president also said, look, we need to also find our mutual interest. Our mutual interest is in the extension of the New START treaty. That's exactly what a president should do. That puts our values first, our interests first. Gone are the days of a president being the sycophant of a dictator like Vladimir Putin.
Yeah. And isn't it weird that just that normal stuff is like revolutionary now? It's sad that that's where we are. But yeah, it was a good day today. Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you, sir. Really appreciate you. Thank you very much.